Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Leaving the Farm, right here on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps. We are a listener-supported radio station, where if you'd like to donate, please visit us at www.freedomslips.com and click on our support pages. Every little bit helps. We're also simulcasting on These Changing Times Radio at thesechangingtimesradio.name.com, as well as No Borders Radio in the UK. If you're in the UK, go ahead and hopefully you're listening. Let's see, I'm getting the error. Tonight we've got updates on Rocco. Now, Kenosha County has been denying that they have Rocco in their holding cell, in their corporate structure. Well, today they have him listed as being held in Kenosha County, of all things. Now, this is the same entity, Mary Kay Wagner, that stripped him of his children back in 2009 in order for her to get at them. Since that time, she's been maintaining a criminal enterprise, trafficking 7 of Rocco's children, including murdering one of them in Hawaii last year. It's getting hotter, folks. Really hot in that kitchen. And I'm not letting up until I have Rocco and all the children out of the criminal enterprise known as Confederacy. We didn't get word on Rock until earlier. Of course, it said he was released from McHenry County, Illinois. Released, meaning he was rented elsewhere on May 1st. Now, yesterday we searched for Rocco all day. Kenosha County said they didn't have him. Wisconsin said they didn't have him. The regional directors said they didn't have him. Corporate counsel rapes and molests children. They are what is formerly known as the Spartan Magistrates. Spartan Magistrates and their works and actions can be viewed by watching a movie called Caligula. I warn everybody that it is quite pornographic. There is a lot of disgusting things that happen in it, but I urge everybody to watch it anyway, so they know what's going on right here, right in front of your noses, right before you, as you patronize these entities that make profit off of locking fathers up by which to steal their children off of them in order to get at the children. It's all about the kids. And Hitler said the same thing in Mein Kampf. Pol Pot said the same thing as he was killing males and taking children and females into refugee status. This is how the game works. United States Incorporated comes in, raises your country, kills off the males, takes all the females and traffics them to each other, takes all the children and traffics them to each other, creates and maintains natural disasters through geoengineering programs by which to make children orphans as it kills adults. This is what this is, folks. This is what you patronize. This is what you call your fathers. These things: molesting, raping, murdering your families, your children, your grandparents, your mothers, your fathers. They'll stop at nothing. We have evidenced this from start to finish, front to back. The genocide of Joseph Reynolds, House of Jonasson. The genocide of Sonia Marie, House of Alsop. The genocide of Adam Larson, House of Larson. The imprisonment unlawfully of Robert Richard, House of Larson. Murder after murder after murder after murder. You will be held accountable. You are being held accountable, and hiding is not going to work. Doesn't matter who you are, you're on the hook. You're evidencing by your own works and actions exactly what you are. This is my function. I am told, 1 Corinthians 13, to suffer and bear all things by which you can be made known. Now, they're not taking this stuff over in India. Let me get there here real quick. Sorry about that, folks. I just found Rocco not even 10 minutes ago after searching for him for a very long time. Now in India, seven corporate council attorneys were found floating face down in a river. They had naturally sprouted chains and bricks out of their feet, according to the news source on BDnews24.com, Bangladesh. This is interesting times. And of course, there shouldn't be any charges for that, because aborting attorneys is aborting attorneys. They have no sentience. They rely on a body politic for their own survival. According to their own definitions, they are not considered life. From ibtimesco.uk, Japanese banker commits suicide after losing £900,000 in bad investments. A Japanese banker who lost £900,000 he had persuaded clients to invest has committed suicide, according to reports. Just one moment. I have no idea where that is. It was there. Okay, so I guess we'll skip that one. Everybody can find that story on my Facebook wall. Sorry about that, folks. Of course, lots and lots and lots of commercials and advertisements, advert, meaning with vert, evidenced by its own name to be altering my heading. They will be held accountable for those things as well as we circle back and foreclose on the corporate government known as the criminal enterprise, defined as confederacy in Black's Law Dictionary. From news9msn.com.au, a doctor has been charged over the alleged sexual assault of two female patients in Northwest NSW. In January 2013, a 60-year-old woman was allegedly sexually assaulted during an hour-long consultation at the doctor's Harbor practice, and another woman, 20, reported similar allegations on Tuesday. Police arrested the doctor, 60, on Thursday and charged him with 4 counts of aggravated sexual assault. He's been refused bail and is due before Coffs Harbour local court in late June. Broward County Drug Court judge arrested on DUI charges. Now, this is Giselle Pollock. From months ago, Bo was reporting on it. She went nuts on the bench and was drunk and faced charges. I think that was in December. Fort Lauderdale, Florida, a Broward County Circuit judge who has run misdemeanor drug court for years was arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence early Friday morning in Plantation. Giselle Pollock, who has admitted to having a history of alcohol and drug addictions in the past, is facing 5 charges, including DUI with damage to property or persons and failure to use due care. Police said the judge was driving west on Sunrise Boulevard when she veered into the far right lane and struck a car. The driver of the car was taken to the hospital with a neck injury. According to the arrest report, the officer could smell the odor of an alcoholic beverage coming from the car and the judge's mouth. The officer also wrote that she was incredibly unsteady on her feet and nearly fell over a couple times during a roadside sobriety test. Pollock went on personal leave in March after having a meltdown in court. She also had a relapse on the bench in December that led to a disruption in court and her return to rehab. Her attorney goes on to try to explain that she's human, which is impossible, but she appears to be a very productive member of society at this time, in and out of jail, catch and release, rehab, medical diagnosis, psychological diagnosis, criminal diagnosis. Nice way to discharge congressional bankruptcy using the right product. From NJ.com, retired cop 70 charged in bank robbery, accused of several crimes after leaving the force. Now, sadly, this cop entered into the retirement age, and they're raising his retirement, it looks like. A 70-year-old retired Essex County Sheriff's lieutenant who has been accused of several crimes and spent time in federal prison since turning in his badge was charged Tuesday with robbing the Santander Bank in Boonton, law enforcement officials said. Harry E. Schnitzer, who retired from the sheriff's office in 2002, was accused of entering a bank at about 10 a.m. Wednesday, demanding money and threatening to draw a weapon. Acting Morris County Prosecutor Frederick M. Knapp and Boonton Police Chief David J. Mayhood said in a statement. Schnitzer fled on foot, the statement said. It was not clear whether he took money. The joint statement doesn't specify how Schnitzer was identified, although prosecutors released still images from the bank's video surveillance system. Superior Court Judge Robert J. Gilson in Morristown set Schnitzer's bail at $200,000 FRNs with no 10% option, the statement said. He was remanded to the Morris County Jail. Schnitzer was an Essex County Sheriff's officer for more than 20 years, but began a descent from cop to alleged robber after an incident in Clifton in 2001, according to Essex County Sheriff Armando Fontura. Now, you notice how he retired in 2012. So they have been after his retirement all this time. And it actually maintains this in the media report down further. Schnitzer applied for and received a disability pension in 2002 while suspended, Ventura said. He collects a pension of $37,350 based on his $76,057 salary, according to public record. The retired officer was charged again in Livingston bank robbery in 2005, according to a previous Star Ledger article, when he allegedly walked into the Valley National Bank branch on South Livingston Avenue and demanded money, claiming he had a weapon. He was arrested a short time later and was released from federal prison in June of 2009, according to public record. Now, John Circio, president of the state's police and firemen's retirement system, said the only way Schnitzer's pension could be revoked is if he was incarcerated and convicted of a crime. Isn't that interesting that he's found to have had committed a crime? Now, to all law enforcement out there, this is how they raise you. This is corporate counsel tricking you guys out now, just exactly like citizens. You can choose your side, or you can continue on and hopefully, hoping for your retirement, but it's going to be taken exactly like this. Or the IRS is going to attack you, and they might be already. Or the bank's going to come in and foreclose on your house. Or CPS is going to come in and take your kids off of you. Or adult protection is going to come in and take your mother or father off of you, and you have to pay through the legal system to get them back in the same amount as your retirement. No matter what, you're going to lose your retirement. This is how the game is played. This is how the game works. It's up to you now to choose your side. You are supposed to be law enforcement. If you want to enforce corporate policy, go ahead. You know what happens to Job. The story's all in the Bible. Read it. Or you can come over here to the public law side and actually enforce law. We don't torture you. Sick. Just sick. It's absolutely just sick. I-Team, ex-Chicago official on the run, arrested in Pakistan. This is from abclocal.go.com. I think we've got Bo on the line. Hi, Bo.
Let me just clear my throat here.
How are you?
Yeah, okay. Alright.
Thought I'd answer that real quick. From abclocal.go.com, I-Team, ex-Chicago official on the run, arrested in Pakistan. April 29th, 4 days after a federal arrest warrant was issued for Chicago's former city comptroller, Amir Ahmad, the one-time City Hall wunderkind, has been taken into custody in Pakistan, according to multiple federal law enforcement sources. Ahmad was being sought by U.S. Marshals in Illinois and Ohio after authorities in Columbus determined he had skipped bond. He pleaded guilty in a corruption case there last December. The case was from 2009 and 2010 when Ahmed was deputy treasurer for the state of Ohio and involved kickbacks for state contracts totaling $3.2 million FRNs. Now, it's very, 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 very interesting what happened next. It was after the financial crimes had occurred in Ohio that Ahmed was hired by Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who said that he knew nothing about the scheme. No, they don't know how to do any background checks or anything there. You know how it goes in those federal workplaces. After resigning from his high-ranking position at Chicago City Hall last summer, he was indicted in Ohio. Initially, Ahmed pleaded not guilty, but then changed his mind after co-defendants decided to plead and would have testified against him. Well, that's how political cannibalism works, isn't it? You get somebody to roll on somebody else, which is exactly what just happened. Pakistan seemed a likely place to look after his wife filed court records in Cook County last week, claiming that he had ordered her to get him a fake passport. There you go. Stop marrying Eve and she won't roll on you like that. It's not worth hiding, is it? It's funny how Babel falls and you're on the hook. From USAtoday.com, Deputy Delaware AG charged with rape of boy, 16. A prosecutor with the Delaware Attorney General's office was charged Friday with rape, allegedly for sexually assaulting a 16-year-old boy, Newcastle County Police said. Daniel Simmons, 34, Deputy Attorney General assigned to the Newcastle County Misdemeanor Trial Unit, was charged with 4 counts of fourth-degree rape. The investigation began in March after police learned of the incidents involving the boy who Simmons made contact with through a social media app, Dubby said. Simmons was identified as the perpetrator early in the investigation. The state's Attorney General's office was notified of the investigation's conclusions on Friday and quickly approved warrants for Simmons' arrest. The investigation determined that Simmons met the boy through a social media app known as Grindr, and not through his dealings with the public as a prosecutor. Making sure to get that out there. They want you to know we're not all pedophiles. You know, we're really the good guys. We're taking them in there. No. Every one of these attorneys rape, molest, kill, and abuse children because you patronize them. You ask them to represent you. This is their function. Sick. What do you think, Bo?
Yeah, and if there's, any doubt in your mind that this isn't a war against you, you either work for the federal state or you're just incapable of comprehending the reality of things here. And the whole time we got these talking heads, media sponsored by the BBG, that are trying to keep you in the dark. Rush Limbaugh, his AM radio ad, I heard on a radio station as I was traveling here recently. He just wants everybody to love government.
Absolutely. He's not CIA or anything. He's not directed by any attorneys or anything. No. You'd be surprised on what goes on back channel in our own lives.
I mean, constantly they lie and they skew the truth and they get you to buy into this whole reality they've created for you. And they're selling you the concept that there's all these separate countries and there's all this conflict and everything. Well, we've been under global governance since 1941. That means all the country's leaders are clergy for Congress and offsetting congressional bankruptcy using the citizens slash plebeians as special deposits to bank on. All right, folks. The story about John Kerry and the Russian counterpart and two potatoes ran several months ago on Bono's Entertainment. It didn't seem to get much attention, but right there in the mainstream, they're giving you little hints about the Russian counterpart to Secretary of State John Kerry.
Business associates. And it was maintained again today. Now, suddenly, a hillside in Afghanistan has collapsed. Identical to the hillside in Oso, Washington. Identical to Katrina. Identical to the tsunami in Indonesia. These things are all maintained and perpetrated by Congress. This allows human beings to produce through death, through the medical industry, through the psychological industry, criminal industry, when the children start acting out after watching their loved ones be crushed under tons and tons of dirt. And in that report as well, Obama says he's working with his partners. Now let that sink in a little bit, because this is what happens every single day. Every human being on this planet is the enemy of Congress, is the enemy of corporations, McDonald's, IBM, AT&T, Google, Anheuser-Busch, Coors, you name it. Every corporation on this planet entered into agreement through treaty ability to use the human being as human test subjects, as human product, as human fodder. And in 1947, with the National Security Act, the human being was labeled as the enemy of that state, the foreign nations. A corporation is a foreign nation. National security is regarding corporate security. State security refers to a human being. And this is indicative, again, myfox8.com. Sober woman arrested for drunk driving after deputy runs stop sign and crashes into her car. And this is in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. A sober Wisconsin woman was arrested for drunk driving after a deputy rolled through a stop sign and caused an accident, according to a report with WITI. A Milwaukee County Sheriff's deputy rolled through a stop sign and T-boned 24-year-old Tanya Waker's vehicle in February of 2013. Quote, "It was a miracle I wasn't paralyzed," end quote, Tanya Waker said. After the crash, Waker told deputies she had a few sips of a friend's drink earlier that night. When the deputy asked her why her eyes looked red and glossy, Waker said she had been crying. She also told deputies she was prescribed Vicodin after she had had her wisdom teeth removed, but it had been at least a week since she took the medication. Deputies were unable to perform a field sobriety test due to Waker's severe injuries. Deputies arrested her and charged her with drunk driving causing injury. She was T-boned. How did she drive her car sideways? The wheels won't turn that way. Video later proved that deputy rolled through a stop sign and T-boned Weiker's car, causing the accident. Weeks later, test results showed Weiker had no alcohol or drugs in her system. Quote, "They made me into a criminal," end quote, she said. Quote, "I knew I was innocent this whole time," end quote. Well, of course you are, baby. Everybody's taught to look at these cops as some kind of authority. How the heck do we get to the point where a cop is T-boning our children? This is one of our babies. And able to bring charges against our babies. Because this is a war zone. This is a quiet war run and maintained by attorneys, corporate counsel attorneys, facilitating company business. This little girl was T-boned as a form of business. She was injured to generate revenue into attorney pockets. She was injured to discharge congressional bankruptcy based on diagnosis. If you go to the story on myfox8.com, sober woman arrested for drunk driving after deputy rolls stop sign, you can see the pictures of her injuries. She was diagnosed under ICD-10, ICD-9, which is the International Classification of Diseases and Disorders. The second that occurs, the sheriff or cop or whoever fills out a form called the CMS form. It's the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. You can find the forms at cms.gov. And that is a check. It has unlimited resources attached to it. That thing allows cops and others to run stop signs, T-bone you and your children, and it doesn't matter if they killed us. Whatever's most efficient for that county. Whatever's most efficient for those bankers cashing in on all of these good things. And you want to talk about this particular aspect of living in a society such as this. Corporate counsel has to diagnose anyone in order to discharge congressional bankruptcy. You can find this audio of my conversation with Scott K. Summers. If they need to generate some revenue out of the Treasury, if they need to generate some Treasury funds or special drawing rights to protect women and children, they have to harm children first. They have to harm women first in order to diagnose them, to get the money out of the Treasury and to get those special drawing rights. That means that corporate counsel is out raping your kids. That means that corporate counsel is out breaking your females, killing your females, and dumping their bodies in rivers. And we saw that recently with the missing doctor in Michigan. She had moved all the way out from California to be with a priest and found out that he was married, so he just had her killed and dumped in a river. Now those funds that come out of that, for the investigation, they already know who killed her. For the prosecution of whoever they finger and point the finger at, which of course isn't going to be the priest. He's a priest. He stands there and he tells you all sorts of stuff about how bad you are. And what a sinner you are. While on the other end, they're all fee splitting, fee sharing under their corporate structure. While they're raping your kids, your wives, your moms, and your grandmas. It's not a good time to be patronizing them, folks.
You know, in the media, I've just been thinking about the media. They just control everything. And, you know, that's why the BBG is on top of the food chain pyramid here when it comes to global governance here, because they're selling you all these concepts. You know, they want you to be patriotic or love your government, and the whole time they're spreading fear. Now on the BBC, it's like a show they were running last night on Nigeria. 200 women that were kidnapped. You know, it's fear, and then they're selling you that, you know, they have to, you know, get the government to do more to help them. You know, and all these things that lead you down the path of attorney work product doctrine, instead of just going to the public law and holding these criminals accountable for genocide and human trafficking, which they're already found guilty of.
Right, instead of charging them for use of our bodies. Every time a judge charges a perpetrator for the use of your body, They're charging rent on your body. That's why they play catch and release. From IndiaToday.com. InToday.in. Sorry. Catholic priest charged with raping 9-year-old girl in Kerala. A Catholic priest is on the run since the police registered a case against him on Friday for raping a 9-year-old girl who is attending church classes for receiving her first Holy Communion. The girl's parents alleged that she was sexually assaulted several times in April, and Friar Raju Kakan, 40, vicar of the St. Paul's Church at the Katusari in Thrissur, shot nude pictures of her in his mobile phone. Following the complaint and then after an internal inquiry, this archdiocese had ousted the priest from the church. Yeah, okay, he's no longer affiliated with it. Get away from me, get away from me, get away from me. You got caught. I don't know you. You should have done that more quietly, right? That's all they do. Get away from me. While they're raping your children. While they're raping your children. This is their function. This is what they do. And the judges now will cash in. Because those pimps are charging for the use of that baby's body. Instead of removing them from the ability to harm, off them. Get them away from humanity. Off them. Stop allowing these things to occur. And stop allowing pimps to charge for the use of human beings' bodies. These are babies. From Robezonian.com, ex-pastor charged with killing Lumberton infant. In Wagram, a Scotland County resident who was once the pastor of a church of Rosbun County has been charged with first-degree murder in the death of his infant daughter who lived in Lumberton. Lawrence McNeil Dowdy, 52, who lives at 26620 McNeil Lake Road, Wagram, was charged after medical personnel were summoned to his home on Monday and found 7-month-old Peyton Dowdy dead as a result of head injuries. The charges of first-degree murder and felony child abuse were brought on Tuesday, according to Captain John Edwards of the Scotland County Sheriff's Office. Edwards said family members had made their emergency call. The child lived with her mother in Lumberton at 110 Lovett Road and was visiting her father. There were older signs of abuse on the child also. Dowdy, who once served as a minister at Antioch Missionary Baptist Church in Proctorville in Robeson County in 2011, spoke during Black History Month and Martin Luther King Jr. celebrations at the University of North Carolina at Pembroke and at St. Andrews University. According to online press releases from the state governor's office, Dowdy in 2010 was appointed by then-Governor Beverly Perdue to serve as the state's faith-based outreach coordinator. So he's from the United States Incorporated. He was sent to Scotland to facilitate corporate policy. Killing kids is part of that. Don't let them into your country. Don't let them into your communities. Get rid of Satan. Satan, the etymology, means your adversary. Someone who plots against you. Killing your kids is evidence of the plot against you. Raping your kids is the evidence of the plot against you. From KDVR.com, pastor faces new sexual assault charges. Prosecutors say new victims come forward. In Denver, Colorado, a Westminster pastor already charged with sexually abusing a teenager over 3 years is now facing accusations from 3 more victims. Gerald Clark, 51, was supposed to have his preliminary hearing Friday. Instead, his attorney asked for more time to prepare for the new allegations. Investigators say Clark met the 3 new victims through church associates, some through his work as a pastor at Jericho Ministries International that met at Broomfield Clubhouse at 110 Greenway Drive. Clark left court Friday with a crowd of supporters. None uttered a single word. but 3 young females have been talking to criminal investigators. Quote, when one person has the courage and personal power to say that this is what happened and it shouldn't have happened, then it gives others the courage to step forward and say, me too, said Jeb Barrett of Survivors Networks of those abused by priests. Hello, we have groups and networks and programs and all sorts of federally funded crap because this is so prolific. It's commonplace. They're 501c3 corporations. They're federally funded to sexually abuse your kids. Then, of course, you tip to them after they're fined. And they're charged by the pimps for raping your children, for use of their bodies. The only entity that will stop this is you, the listener. You realize this, right? I mean, asking the wolf to not eat the chickens doesn't work. Doesn't work. Alex in metronews.com. Police chief says magistrate's ruling is irregular. This is in Charleston, West Virginia, and I believe, and what it appears to me is that this magistrate was trying to back out of human trafficking and the corporate counsel attorney went over his head. A decision by Kanawha County Magistrate left Charleston Police Chief Brent Webster scratching his head. Now, of course, Chief of Police are usually FBI agents trained at Quantico. Magistrate Tim Halloran abruptly ended a preliminary hearing for 2 men Thursday charged with malicious wounding and dismissed the charges, finding no probable cause for their arrest. Quote, the officer was in the middle of his testimony, the way I understand it, when Magistrate Halloran said, quote, we're shutting it down. I don't want to hear anymore. It's dismissed, end quote, said Webster, talking about the case on Metro News Talkline Friday. Quote, I've testified in these proceedings before, and that to me seems irregular, end quote. Kenneth Gooden and Carlos Short, for a brief moment, were off the hook, but city police in the Kanawha County Prosecutor's Office kicked into high gear and managed to arrest the pair again before they left the South Central Regional Jail. Why would they do that? Magistrate said there's no probable cause to arrest them. But corporate counsel already made the complaint to the insurance. How's he going to back out? He already claimed on the insurance that, hey, look, another injury occurred. Another injury, yay! I get to cash in on this thing. So, of course, the magistrate is going to try to back out because he doesn't see any probable cause. But corporate counsel, if he got caught facilitating insurance fraud in those amounts, usually the bond's what, $1 million? Why, he'd go down, wouldn't he? And it's a lot easier to roll over on somebody else. A lot easier than admitting the truth. This is what Babel looks like as it falls. Corporate counsel making insurance claims that they can't back up. Magistrates that are trying to get out of the system and stop human trafficking. But they're in deep, aren't they? They're surrounded by attorneys.
They are attorneys.
Yeah, they are. And these folks are vicious. If you want to know what happens, it's all written in Revelation. And it says exactly how vicious these attorneys are. And it also says that we're not backing off. The United States is here. And we're here to hold them accountable, regardless of whatever they want to do. Every time they evidence their works against us, just more evidence. If you off me, somebody else takes my place. Sorry, but it's not going to be occurring any longer. Ever again. Ever again. From ABC.go.com, ex-girlfriend and pastor charged with arson. quote, he wants to kill me. A California woman whose ex-boyfriend is accused of hiring transients to throw a Molotov cocktail into her home said she believes he wanted her dead. Quote, it definitely was clear to me that he's not just out to hurt me, but he wants to kill me, end quote, Sarah Nottingham told ABC News 2020. On January 9th, Nottingham said a Molotov cocktail crashed through her home as she and her family slept. Shortly after, police stopped a suspicious truck and arrested 3 transients who, after questioning, confessed they were hired by Nottingham's ex-boyfriend, Mark Lewis. Lewis, the pastor of Independent Fellowship Baptist Church in Vacaville, California, denied any involvement in the incident to local reporters. He's currently awaiting trial on arson and fraud charges. The 3 transients, who say they were staying at the pastor's church, all pleaded not guilty. Now, the chief priest there got Judas to turn on somebody, didn't they? These transients took a bag of silver, whatever it was, maybe food, definitely shelter. Was it worth it? Is it worth harming your fellow human being for any amount of money or things? You can read all about this as well in Matthew 27. About who crucifies Jesus. There was the chief priests and elders, the Council of Nicaea, the Corporate Council, Association of Corporate Council, Board of Governors. They all called out for your death. Jesus means your earth. And they appointed a governor to be a pilot of your vessel. And every once in a while the governor says, no, he's innocent. But the sheep will keep saying, let him be crucified. We want entertainment. We want entertainment. Let him be crucified. Kick him in there. Stuff him in that jail cell. We want to be entertained. And these things continue to occur until you stop saying that. These things are all under Federal Emergency Management Acts, which is what comes from Governor Pilate as they're steering your vessel. If you're not aware of the story, go read it. It's your walk. And it starts out with the New Testament and says what happens to you if you follow certain rules and what happens to you if you follow certain other rules. It's very easy. Revelation says all of the things that you experience as you walk along one of those paths. Of course, that path has a very, very narrow gate. But on the other side is a very, very beautiful thing. It's up to you which path you're going to choose. Whether or not you're a whore of Babylon or the one fornicating with the Lord God or your God. And you realize this. And at that time, when you're able to open their book, that's when your wrath is made known. Or, of course, you're a citizen plebeian of the Lord God fornicating, as it says in 1 Corinthians 6. It's all up to you which way you want to go. The wide path is an easy one to take until you're cannibalized and crucified and live like Job. But it really is all up to you. It's not up to me. All I can do is show you what happens if you go either way. Now we talk a lot about the genocide and the actors, and of course now with these new revelations of Rocco being in Kenosha after they denied that they had him, they've still got no bond on him, so they had to hurriedly grab him up and hide him before somebody could take him off of him. There's only one reason for that. They don't want the father of 7 children holding them accountable for the most heinous child abuse. Rocco's wife, Laura, was murdered by the medical industry. And immediately, while he was on his knees, Mary Kay Wagner in the state of Wisconsin offered him an agent that let him comfort. Her name was Carlene Trentadue. She claims the last name Larson, but it's evidence in the transcripts that they were never married. She never had intent to marry him. And one by one, she took all of his kids off of him. On behalf of the state of Wisconsin, corporate counsel, Mary Kay Wagner, and all of the other predators and pedophiles who are tricking his kids out since 2009. This happens every day. Rocco's not the first one. Rocco is the norm. You're just seeing Rocco, as we've been evidencing all along. It really is time to choose your side. It's not time to wait around and see what's going to happen. You already know what happens. Nazi Germany was a prime example of what happens when the corporations come in and start cutting all the overhead. Overhead means everybody who's on welfare, Social Security, veterans benefits, HUD, everybody who is overhead for a corporation. That includes teachers, those on federal and state employ, law enforcement, administration. That's what overhead is. And the bigger the paycheck, the more likely it is that you're going to be going by the way of Nazi Germany in a swift manner, such as these bankers that are, quote, committing suicide. And these attorneys being found in rivers. And these agents being stuffed into duffel bags and maintained as natural causes of death. It's not as loud as Nazi Germany. You guys really didn't accept all that back then, and so they learned to do it in a more quiet mechanism, or a more quiet manner, such as how they killed Joseph Reynolds, and how they killed Sonia Marie, how they're holding Rocco, how they got his kids off of him, and all it took was Eve. She's licensed by the state of Wisconsin to do exactly what she did. She did a great job, and she gets benefit in that. Usually these are in municipal retirements or municipal disability accounts. That's what Walter Burien found back in 2009. 800,000 federal employees that don't have a title, they don't have a department, it's just a check going out every month. Those agents are called human. They garner your information through human interaction. That's all it takes. They know what hurts you. They know how to poke you into reacting. They know what makes you tick. That's the function of Stasi. They're just called pretty things now, but it's the same German Stasi it has ever been. It's time now to choose your side. Sick news today. What do you think, Bo?
Well, I'm really just beside myself. I can't get my mouth to operate today, so I just can't believe all these sheep will just allow this day after day, and I still think there's a way to vote good new transgressors in, and if you don't see the war by now, then I don't know. You're probably gonna wind up a casualty of the war. So I'm sorry for all of you, but you know, this is not my doing. This is the attorneys you keep patronizing, doing it to all of us.
Right, and calling it their father. That's the whole thing. 1 Corinthians 6. You know, stop going in front of them. Stop asking them to do anything. And Jesus specifically says, don't you know that you are the judge? It's you. And what that means is if you're crying out, I want another program, I want help, let's petition for this. Let's try something else and still keep patronizing that thing. You're allowing it to be its own judge. You're the judge. It says so in 1 Corinthians 6. Call no man your father, not even Christ, Matthew 23. And he tells you exactly who you're calling your father. Moses. You're sitting at the right hand of a judge. He says, what the hell are you doing? They say, and they don't do what they say. He says they look really good on the outside of their cup, but inside, man, that's filthy. From NJ.com, New Jersey authorities charged 12 people in alleged insurance scam to recruit accident victims as patients. Now, this one's separate from the other one that happened last week when the attorney killed himself. Two Monmouth County brothers have been accused of orchestrating a racketeering ring over the last 5 years in which they hired people to recruit traffic accident victims as patients and bilked millions of dollars from insurance companies, state authorities announced Thursday. Now let's go back to the little girl who was T-boned. Is this sinking in yet? She was T-boned by a state agent and a cop that then went on to charge her for a DUI. But who's cashing in? Attorneys. Who owns the medical industry? Now, Jill Biden has the majority stock in Aurora Medicine. That's Joseph Biden's wife, by the way. Who's Rand Paul? Who's Ron Paul? Who's Patrick Leahy? Who's Obama? Who owns the hospitals? Who sits on their board of trustees? Attorney. Attorney. Who facilitates the actions on behalf of the attorneys and corporate counsel? Agents, doctors, chiropractors, psychiatrists. Who kills kids while maintaining under dental procedures? Dentists. How do they wrap all this up? Criminal confederacy. It's a criminal enterprise. Each corporation is a foreign nation. The United States Incorporated, also known as the United Nations, also known as the League of Nations, also known as the Confederacy itself. Now when they pick these fall guys, they're just redistributing these fall guys. They're charging them for rent on your bodies. So no matter what, you're the prostitute, they're the pimp, and the John. It's a nice business schematic, isn't it? So if you held all the commercial crimes, 27 CFR 72.11, you'd make sure that because you are the pimps, that the prostitutes couldn't sell their bodies any other way, right? And that's exactly what it says in 27 CFR 72.11. It says those are crimes. Commercial crimes are crimes against the laws of revenue. Federal government says, hey, that's undercutting us. Wait a second. That's what they told us about the mafia. Remember, the mafia is the one that comes and breaks your knees if you don't pay them. And all of these presentations and all of these CIA productions.
So Rush Limbaugh wants you to love your mafia.
We'll be right back, folks. Stick around. Hi, and welcome back to the second hour of Leaving the Farm, right here on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, where information never sleeps. We are a listener-supported radio station. If you'd like to donate, please visit us at www.freedomslips.com and click on our support pages. Every little bit helps. We're also simulcasting tonight live on theschangingtimesradio.ning.com. That's Times, Timez. And as well as on No Borders in the UK. Thank you, Ben and Patty, for allowing us this venue. And before the break, of course, we were going off, and it's just been a profound week again, yet again, over and over and over and over and over again. This is all we do, day after day. And until sheeple wake up, I'm just here mouthing off, spouting off, being angry, and feeling quite impotent because everybody's still patronizing this thing. It's the same criminal enterprise across the globe since 1941 with the Atlantic Charter. Winston Churchill and President Roosevelt entered into contract with each other and said that Congress was going to have global governance, although they already did to a limited extent. Congress already had the world courts established way back when with the 1789 Judiciary Act. Congress was already the Confederacy, also known as League, which is a synonym for Confederacy. You can read about that in the 1924 League of Nations Covenant. The annex of such is the Articles of Confederation themselves. Article 12 says that you, the human being, are pledged as pledged assets and charged to discharge congressional bankruptcy. From pressofAtlanticCity.com, New Jersey town official charged with cocaine possession, Asbury Park. A New Jersey town administrator has been arrested on cocaine possession charges. Asbury Park police tell the Asbury Park Press that Manchester Township Administrator Eileen Zoldos was arrested Monday afternoon. At that time, she was in a township vehicle. No one answered the phone Wednesday at the home of 44-year-old Berkeley Township resident. Manchester officials said Wednesday that Zoldos has been suspended without pay. She has held the township administrator post for about 7 years. Sounds like another fall guy to me. Whatever it takes. I don't care how many psychopaths are taken into this system to discharge congressional bankruptcy. The 1941 Atlantic Charter says you all chose this form of government as the people. The corporations, the person being defined in the 14th Amendment as a new living being that wasn't the citizen, which of course facilitated life insurance policies for the corporations and the insurance that comes along with that, as maintained in the 1947 National Security Act, which means those are federal agents ensuring that things are going to happen to you. It's not so fun when it's your turn, is it? And again, this is what happens. This is what Babel looks like as it's falling. This is what Rome looks like when it's burning. from Baltimore.cbslocal.com. Oh, before I go on, we put a claim on the federal banks, which are the federal courthouses, the 13 colonies, as established in 1789 Judiciary Act. And this is all the fallout you're seeing. You're going to see the whole original 13 colonies, Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, all of them, gone, done, over. No more. And it's surprising that you idiots are still stupid enough to be holding Rocco. Oh, I've said over and over again, in all of these documents, I'll get off your ass when you discharge all the human children that are in your holding corporations. I'll stop. I'll go away. All I want is God's children. From Baltimore.cbslocal.com, correctional officer charged with exposing himself to female co-workers. Eek! From Glen Burnie, Maryland, a correctional officer in Anne Arundel County has been charged with sexually harassing and exposing himself to female co-workers. Several female co-workers at the Anne Arundel County Ordnance Road Correction Facility alleged Curtis Sylvester Goddard, 51, had been exposing himself to them over the past several months. One woman said Goddard once kissed her against her will. Police conducted interviews with the alleged victims and obtained warrant for his arrest. Goddard was taken into custody without incident Thursday night. He is charged with 2 counts of indecent exposure, 1 count of second-degree assault, and a 4th-degree sex offense. The investigation continues. Potential victims or anyone with information on these incidents are asked to call 1-410-222-3457. And the horrifying news in Afghanistan today from CNN.com, twin landslide site that killed at least 2,000 Afghans declared a mass grave. Now they did this a few years ago as well. 70 human beings were buried, and they didn't want to expend the financial resources to even get their bodies out of the ground. Because, of course, corporations don't give a care. Doesn't mean anything to them. And again, throughout the day, I've been reading the same thing. They don't care. They're just garbage. A double landslide that first buried an Afghanistan village and then hundreds of rescuers is a mass grave holding thousands of people after authorities found that digging for bodies in 50 meters of mud and rock was impossible, officials said Saturday. The Friday tragedy was so devastating, even a wedding ceremony was waylaid in the slide. That Sunday will be a day of national mourning, the Afghan presidential palace said. A memorial ceremony was planned for late Saturday. The first landslide swallowed 300 to 400 homes in the Argo district of Badaskan province in northeastern Afghanistan, where an estimated 2,700 people resided, authorities said. In a rescue, almost 600 people from a nearby village volunteered to help dig people out, but a new landslide occurred and consumed many, if not all of them too. The governor's office said at least 2,000 people died in the slide. As a triage, authorities are now focusing on about 4,000 survivors and evacuees. I want you to pay close attention to this, folks, because you can close your eyes and you can imagine that those human beings are different than you because they're a different color or a different culture or a different religious belief, far away from you. But this just now occurred in Oso, Washington. Same thing. The government came in and clear cut and buried human beings. That same government, the same show owners who own the Broadcasting Board of Governors, came in with charity, right? Come on, maybe we should just go through the Bible and we should read it. Matthew 27. Judas was attempting to give the silver back to the priests and elders, the corporation owners and attorneys. He says, I know what I've been doing. I know what you've been doing. And they said, we can't put those FRNs back in the treasury. Treasury is where the gold goes. We can't put any special drawing rights that we give you in order for you to work for us back in that treasury. That's blood money. So what did they do? They built a pauper cemetery, threw up a church, put a priest in it, put on a really good show, and said, I'm charitable. And the same thing occurred with Governor Pilate there. What did he do? All the time he was crucifying Jesus, he was washing his hand in holy water. He says, you know I'm forgiven, right? I mean, I've got to go after the money. I don't care what it takes. I'm a governor. I'm Rick Perry, and I'm traded as the Board of Governors. I'm Rick Perry, and I'm traded as the Department of Health and Human Services. I make lots of money tricking out your kids. So I'm going to go to church, and I'm going to show you that I'm a Christian. I'll throw money at it. As long as you're looking over there where the money is. As long as you're looking at that big shiny thing over there and the holy water at the front of it. You'll never see that I'm the one that's screwing your kids. You'll never see that Federal Emergency Management Act is a means of moving human beings, managing them. I'll throw up an institution and we'll hide your family members that are going nuts because I've been raping them. And we'll put them in institutionalized states. We've got nursing homes for them when you get tired of looking at them and they become a financial burden on you. We'll impose some parental responsibility laws on you so you'll turn on your own kids. And we'll have officers in uniform come out and tell you how bad they are. You really wanted to go here. Y'all wanted to go here. Down in the pits of hell. And you wanted to learn all about your government. You want to learn about the local attorney and the local muni judge tricking out children and pointing the finger at their fathers when the children act out because they've got the psychiatrist in their pocket. And that little baby over there with the gun to his head is not going to tell on the cop that's raping him. He's going to point out the guy that the priest says he's supposed to point out. Or the psychiatrist says he's supposed to point out. Because the other guy has a gun. You want to play this game? Because I'm all for it. You let the babies go, and I get off of your ass. You don't let the babies go, and I release every ounce of information, every ounce of evidence against you, and I don't stop until every one of you are drawn and quartered. And it will be swift. Because you have information about your peer, and your peer has the same amount, if not more, information about you. And this is how it's going to go. So Samsung and AT&T or something are suing each other, Federal jury ruled Friday that Samsung may pay $119.6 million to Apple over patent infringements. So here's your corporate governance suing each other. And they'll jack up the cost of the little shiny products that you like to buy because you're the consumptive good. You're the consumer. I gotta have that brand new smartphone because my old smartphone's not smart enough. Gotta have that upgrade. Gotta keep buying. Gimme, 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 gimme. I want human ease. I want it now. I'm gonna call you my daddy, and it doesn't matter what you do to my kids as long as I get my special toys. I want that free schooling. I want those welfare benefits. I need my Social Security and my veterans pay. I'm going to roll on my neighbor and take their kids off of them because, I can get captive funds for that. That allows me to live nice in a nice house. $1,500 a month, $2,000 a month for taking somebody else's kids. I'm warning you. You also go down. From Baltimore.cbslocal.com, veteran Baltimore City officer charged with attempted homicide in New York, Pennsylvania shooting. That sounds interesting. York, Pennsylvania, Baltimore City police officer finds himself on the other side of the law after he was accused of shooting a man multiple times in Pennsylvania. Rochelle Ritchie has more on the shooting and the stigma of violence at the hand of city cops. The officer has been with the Baltimore City Police Department since 2002. He's off the job now and charged with attempted murder and assault. John Torres, 33, spent 12 years as a police officer protecting and serving on the streets of Baltimore City, but on Tuesday afternoon, police in New York say he shot a man several times in the torso and the arm. Baltimore City police say because this incident is under investigation in another jurisdiction, they will not be releasing any verbal comments. However, they did release a statement to WJZ. In that statement, Baltimore City Police said we would be restricted to confirming that our officer was involved. He had been employed by the BPD since 2002 and has been suspended without pay. Torres was off duty at the time of the shooting. Investigators say that he and his alleged victim were in some sort of dispute involving the victim's wife. Torres told investigators as he left his home the victim was seen driving towards his car at a high rate of speed. That's when he says he pulled out his gun and fired 14 rounds. The shots could be heard throughout the neighborhood. Baltimore City cops ended up on the wrong side of the law is nothing new. WJZ archives hold a slew of officers convicted of murder, drug dealing, assault, and conspiracy. Now let's back up a little bit. Here's another agent in the garden screwing somebody's wife. Where are the children that corporate counsel has their eyes on? Because they just directed the murder of their father. This is how it works. Every day, day in and day out. This man is Carlene Deanne Trent Dew Larson. Same story, different face. Same story over and over again. I got greener pastures for you, honey. Come this way. And what's the end result? Murder. Child trafficking. And Eve there is so specialized. What does she get out of this? Eventually, like Bolshevik Russian women and the women in Nazi Germany, she just gets taken out and offed. Met her use. She's done. We don't need her anymore. And this is what happens now. She'll be found whatever. Of course, it'll come quietly. She'll never see it coming, but the majority in Nazi Germany and Bolshevik Russia starved to death and died of the elements. During that time, men in floods left Bolshevik Russia. They took off and left the children and the women to fend for themselves after they'd been screwed over by feminism and the courts. You all saw what happened next. The elderly, children and females were put into gas chambers and firing squads. And if they hadn't been raped and molested yet by corporate council, they were called refugees and taken elsewhere to be raped and abused by corporate council attorneys in another location where nobody knew their language, nobody knew their culture, and they just didn't fit in. Of course, that's what prompts a child into seeking a father figure or a patriarch of some kind. State's always a replacement for that missing dad that's murdered by cops or corporate council or military forces on the ground. That's what the game is about. It's called politics. I see they're raising Ben Affleck. Did you see that one?
Yeah, they just accused him of card counting in Vegas. He was taking a break, little romantic getaway, as the story goes, before he starts shooting the Superman Batman film that they're going to be shooting in Detroit, apparently.
Those are high dollar amounts that they're dealing with, so they're posturing him. That'll be interesting to see what they do to him.
There's another aspect of the war, okay? I mean, all this stuff that's going on with all these celebrities lately, they're hurting for funds and they're plundering the people that have them, and, they're going to roll on each other more and more. Now, just more prima facie evidence that the agreed entry with Northern Holding Corporation is working is that I have friends that are veterans. I have friends that they're still sucked into the daddy state and keep patronizing it no matter what I say. It's not just inclusive of all the listeners we have that just sit there with their jaws open, not doing anything. Of course, regarding the withdrawal of your corporate stock from the Congress, House of Representatives, where it's being held right now. The basic outline for that premise is up there in a very simple text document, and the corresponding templates show you how exactly I went about withdrawing myself from their, corporation. But people say, well, I don't have time to comprehend your process.
Okay, bye-bye.
And, but in all my years of studying statute, UCC, state codes, statute, federal code statute, regulations, okay, there's way much more material to learn in that realm, for one thing. So if you got time to, listen to people like Gene Keating or Rod Class, and you got time to comprehend their process, which is still patronizing the system and still getting you your 0.82% here when all is said and done. The public law is very, very simple. So I don't know what to say to you. People, you gotta choose a side, and if you do nothing, then, you've already chosen, I guess. But, where was I going with that? So I have friends that are veterans, and on Medicare and whatnot for health problems, and they're reliant upon that. It's like if they go off that, they'll probably die. I mean, but now what they've done since we broke that presumption is they're canceling those programs, and then getting them to rejoin, sign up again, new policy or whatever. It's prima facie evidence that they have to go back and garner your consent once again. So this is it's very alarming to me that they're getting basically defecated on, and they go back to it. Okay, they got what they need by you re-signing up for these programs and things like that. They've got your consent again. They got you back in the chute again as a surety. We broke the presumption for all human beings. Okay, and I don't know. Can you elaborate on that? I'm not very well spoken today.
As of last August, the human being's no longer in the chute. Well, May, but in August it was solidified. We made the trade. And the presumption is life unless you consent, which means with sending. The presumption is that the human being is be living unless you evidence that you're dead. And in civil death, that means that you're acting as a fiction. You're renewing your driver's licenses. You're giving your birth certificate to some idiot. You're running into court for benefits or rights. You're applying for benefits or rights. You're doing all of these things under that structure and calling that thing your daddy. That overcomes the presumption of life. And it really is time to choose your side. And we watch this quickly. Everybody notices that Elizabeth, Miss Just Another Human, is no longer posting on YouTube. She ended up being put on prescription medications she thought she needed. And ultimately that caused her to have a stroke. She's recuperating at this time. And she has been for a very long time. But through the prescription industry, her mind is not what it was. She's posting on Facebook every once in a while, but she's not making the sense that she used to. She's not able to vocalize her words that we all know and we all love. And this was facilitated by the medical industry. Originally, she was consenting to it, and once that ball's rolling, it doesn't stop. The medical industry is there to kill people and to incapacitate them. And if you're insured, it uses you until your body wears out or your insurance wears out. It depends on what happens first. If you die first, of course, that's the end of the production line. If your insurance runs out or it's about to run out, you're going to find yourself the victim of lethal injection and murder the same way that Joseph Reynolds was and the same way that Sonia Marie was. That's what they do. Now the ex-Montana teacher, everybody raised so much hell after that teacher was sentenced to nothing, and the victim, 14-year-old little girl, was admonished by the judge and told that she was at fault for these things. It appears like he's up for resentencing now. Billings, Montana. And this is on WILX.com. A former high school teacher who raped a 14-year-old student could be headed back to prison after the Montana Supreme Court ruled Wednesday that his original 1-month sentence was too short under state sentencing guidelines. Of course, adhering to policy, that predator judge played catch and release with a known predator for a reason. All of the sheeple screamed and hollered, so I'll continue reading. The court ordered a new judge to resentence defendant Stacey Dean Ramboyd. Ramboyd was released after fulfilling the original sentence last fall and is expected to remain free pending his reappearance in state district court. Wednesday's unanimous decision means Rambold must serve a minimum of 2 years in prison under state law, Yellowstone County Attorney Scott Twido said. The High Court cited in part the actions of District Judge G. Todd Bow of Billings, who caused outrage by suggesting that the victim shared responsibility for her rape and had some control over the situation. The defendant was a 47-year-old business teacher at Billings High School at the time of the 2007 rape. The victim, one of his students, killed herself in 2010 while Rambold was awaiting trial. Another child lost. Your child. My child. To an agent of the state that originally was given 1 month for not only raping her, but for murder. Now, India, they're not taking this crap anymore. Just 2-3 weeks ago, a man who was facing his property being razed ended up committing suicide. So they went ahead and charged the county administrator and the corporate counsel with aiding and abetting his suicide. Now, the American sheeple are absolutely laying down. They don't even consider holding anybody accountable. That's not in your mindset. You've been taught to patronize this thing and have it represent you to your death, to our babies' deaths. 14-year-old baby was murdered by a teacher and a judge who told this little girl that it was her fault that she got raped.
Did you see this one in Fort Myers, Florida?
I didn't.
Okay, and the headline reads, this is NBC2, State Attorney's Office employee arrested for child porn. The Florida Department of Law Enforcement Fort Myers Regional Operations Center Cyber High Tech Crime Task Force arrested Warren Hamilton, 58, of Fort Myers for 20 counts of sexual performance by a child Tuesday. FDLE agents served a search warrant at Hamilton's home located at 3935 McGregor Boulevard, Fort Myers, and located numerous digital images of child pornography. He worked in the IT section of the 20th Judicial Circuit State Attorney's Office. Hamilton was booked into Lee County Jail. The FDLE Fort Myers Regional Operations Center Cyber High Tech Crimes Task Force consists of law enforcement officers from FDLE, Homeland Security investigators, and the Fort Myers Police Department. The State Attorney's Office and Lee County Sheriff's Office assisted FDLE in this investigation. At his first appearance Wednesday morning, Hamilton's bond was set at $100,000. He's due back in court in June. Hamilton was terminated from the State Attorney's Office on Wednesday. Okay, so now, from the evidence that you've gathered over the years,
He was their IT tech.
They're doing this stuff all the time.
Right.
They've been doing this stuff. All the courts, like this Mary Kay Wagner criminal, calling herself a judge, is probably got files like this of her own.
Right, and that's what their IT tech does. We know a lot of IT technicians, forensic specialists that That's what they do all day. They look for flagged items, then they remove the items from their corporation. And most of them take their laptops home that they do their work on. And so the majority of these IT techs are just cleaning up after the attorney general, after the judge, after whoever, and getting it off of the machines. That's their function. So it looks like that one is cannibalized now by the attorney general, but everybody needs to go ahead and, don't ask for transparency. Have a live feed of what your politicians are doing every day. Have it live. Under the public law, we have everything. Everything that we do, every step we take is on evidence. We don't withhold any evidence. Every one of my actions is you can follow me on Facebook and know exactly what I've been doing since I joined Facebook, YouTube, Skype. All of this stuff is public knowledge. That's what public law is. Everything's on top of the table. There's no secrets. And when you have corporations that are locked up really, really tight with IT techs and forensic specialists and everything like this, there's a reason for that. There's a reason for the Crimes Against Children Act, which is a privacy law. There are reasons that the judiciary hides your children from you. They list your children on YouTube channels that aren't YouTube. It's called PornTube, IncestTube, illegal incest tube. And it doesn't have anything to do with incest. These are foster mothers, foster fathers, adopted parents, tricking your kids out for the courts, selling your kids to each other. Everybody knows about NAMBLA. What about the Butterfly Association? Those are the female predators preying on your kids. Mary Berg is a teacher, a 4th grade special education teacher in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. Her 2 children were diagnosed as being sexually abused by her years ago. Thomas Erbs was murdered the minute he aged out and he was no longer required for the system. For the priest, Robert Hoekstra. For the sheriff, Kowalczyk, who ended up threatening me and asking me to come into his office so he could kick my ass after I went off on him. The judges, Cameron, this is what they do. Now, those 2 children were diagnosed as sexually abused. Mary Berg was never charged. She's still a special education teacher in the 4th grade in Eau Claire, Wisconsin. She's very beneficial to politics. This is what they do, folks. It's not a game. It's a war. It's not happen chance when a teacher's sexually abusing a child. That's the norm. They got caught. They needed a fall guy to make you feel like you're being protected by, quote, law enforcement.
Okay, now here's more evidence of the federal state cannibalizing the national state over at FBI.gov. Corrections officer arrested on federal bribery charges, accused of taking cash to smuggle contraband into facility. So Leonard Fleming, 33, a corrections officer with the Corrections Corporation of America, CCA, has been arrested and charged with bribery following an undercover FBI investigation in which he allegedly accepted money for smuggling contraband into the District of Columbia's correctional treatment facility. It's right there, basically in Capitol Hill. So, The charge was announced by U.S. Attorney Ronald C. McKen Jr., Valerie Parlave, Assistant Director in charge of the FBI's Washington Field Office, and Thomas N. Faust, Director of the District of Columbia Department of Corrections. Fleming was arrested today, this is April 30th, by the FBI and appeared this afternoon in U.S. District Court for District of Columbia, pled not guilty, and was released on personal reconnaissance, pending hearing on May 14th.
That's what they
it's
do.
kind of the same thing that's going on at the Bundy Ranch.
Great. It's every day. And the same thing that's going on when the United States Incorporated comes up against Microsoft. Microsoft is the United States Incorporated. Microsoft is part of the UN. This is them suing each other. And the attorney's winning as they take money out of the other attorney's pocket. Charge you the difference. Oh, we got sued again. We're going to have to up the price on Microsoft now. Computer prices just went up again because, we got sued. Bank charges just went up again because, we went bankrupt. Taxes just went up again. We're going to have to charge you more for that. They just culled a whole bunch of beef.
Yeah, that's another very important war front here. Okay, the BBC commercial I heard recently. We all know that water is scarce. Okay, well, who made that water scarce in the first place? Okay, it's these attorneys plotting their war against you. This is Agenda 21. The whole mechanism for controlling you through the water has been planned for many, many years through these tangent groups such as Bilderberg and the United Nations. Fracking, it's by no accident you're getting all these earthquakes. People are rising up about fracking, destroying the water table because they're getting their water poisoned by this fracking operation. And, the federal government is just saying, well, basically you got to bend over and take it. Because,
it gets better.
So they are destroying the water tables, creating scarcity, and it's the same thing with this food article that you're bringing up here. And see how many stories we heard in the last month where, okay, let's see, they had how many thousands pounds of hot dogs recalled because they were not marked correctly and destroyed. They just destroy these things, driving up the prices because the supply is diminished. Yeah, chicken. There was a incident with chicken over the last month. Pork. All the cattle at the Bundy Ranch that the feds didn't know what to do because they killed them and they didn't want to get caught with them, so they just buried them.
Cutting supply, increasing demand. It's a commodities market. This is what attorneys do. They trade on the commodities market. How do they make more money? Cut the supply. Increase the demand. It drives the price right up. Controlling the inflation rate. Drives it right up. Oh, sorry folks, you're going to have to pay more. And the sheep will all say, okay, in unison, I guess I'll have to work more, get a second job so I can eat now. No! Stop providing them the opportunity to do these things.
And now in Michigan, they want to make it, they're giving the local communities the ability to make having sheep, goats, chickens, basically livestock in your backyard.
Unlawful.
Okay, we know about the gardening. If they come in and say you can't have a garden, they just throw the book at you and tear up your garden. Like happened to one lady who had been gardening in her front yard for decades here just last year. They don't like you having any separation from the state government. If they can't cash in on you getting, you know, buying eggs from the store, then, you know, they're going to figure out a way to force you back to the grocery store so you can buy their GMO and corporate poison.
Right, because it kills you. Because it makes you reliant on the medical industry. They've got everything sewn up until you push back.
And we've got these I don't know what's the word I'm looking for. We've got these individuals out there that are herding you back into the system covertly, like Stuart Rhodes,
Donna Ray,
Gun Owners of America, Oath Keepers, which is run by attorneys,
Rod Class, Dean Clifford, Santos Bonacci, Katie, Curtis Kallenbach. All of these people are telling you to contract.
Exactly. None of them are telling you to withdraw your stock, United States Corporation, and therefore, like, none of you are doing it because you're all scared and basically, you know, needing to wear diapers these days because, you know, God forbid you should, you know, stop buying their state licenses and their insurance and all the stuff that's rammed down your throat to get you to contract.
Humanese.
You don't want humanese.
That's it. You want the easy way.
You're not afraid to go out and buy guns and say, well, I'm going to defend my home and all this stuff, but, you know, need to get married or need to get some more guns, you go down and get licenses for this stuff.
And they know exactly where you're at. The NRA was a human massent collection. National Rifle Association. It says where all the guns are. They need to take your guns. They're going to go through the NRA. You're registered there as a member. You like showing your guns off and you're proud of what you got. They're going to take it off of you. That's the purpose of Massent and Human to the CIA. They're information collection centers. Same thing with all of these extremist groups. You know, if you bump into anybody that tells you, oh, we need a militia, and then touts that they're the militia and tells you what to do, read all about the FBI infiltrating those groups. The CIA establishing those groups in the Book 4 of the Church Committee reports.
Well, your first clue is the Constitution allowing these things in the first place. You're getting your rights to be in a militia and have a militia, and you're allowing that to be granted to you through the Constitution, which is a benefit. All right, what comes along with that? Well, being subject to all these private acts and acts of commerce are ruling you over.
Genocide.
Yeah, which results in genocide, of course, which we found them guilty of. But pay no attention to that. Just continue to stomp your feet, demanding your constitutional rights.
Yeah, put your blood thumbprint on it. That'll work. Turn around 3 times. Dance. Clap your hands above your head 4 times. Wear pink shoes that day. Jump over the bar and then jump back over the bar. Then put your blood thumbprint on that document. Hand it to them. You know, we need to come up with a magical thing. Because, you know, reality just sucks. Human beings don't want reality. They don't want to face the hard truth. It's too hard. They're used to all those representations.
Yeah, John Stewart used to say, I'm talking about the John Stewart that's being held in Marcopia County Jail, who was teaching under statute. People, I understand, he was locked into that belief system that the system is good as the people are bad. But as we've evidenced, the system is just a killing machine. So how's that good? But anyways, he used to say people hate the truth more than anything. And Americans, Merrikans or something like that. Because, oh boy, people just, and he was locked into that belief system too. I mean, he said people, Americans hate the truth more than anything. Well, unfortunately, he didn't want to face the truth that the system, based on that 1789 Judiciary Act, which allows for
Banking. It's not law like you guys think it is. It's banking. Those are banks as defined in Black's Law Dictionary. A bank is a court. A bank is a court. A bank is a court. Attorneys are bankers. They're tricking you out.
Yeah, the attorney in the black dress, going by the title of judge, is the banker, and the attorneys are the ones that are facilitating that their clients are going to be represented as a negotiable instrument.
That's it.
Yeah, their oath is found under Title 12, banking. So what does that tell you right there on its face?
That's all they are. Banks. The bank is charging people for use of your bodies. Charging for murder. They're saying that you're their property. That John just shot you and killed you. And now it owes them money for doing that. That John just raped your child, so now it owes the judge money and the attorney's monies for raping your child. That's prostitution. Now, if you do that, you're charged under commercial crimes, 27 CFR 72.11, any crimes against the laws of revenue, meaning you're not committing a crime against another human or a harm, but that you're undercutting the federal government when you do that. They're not protecting human beings. They're pimping them out. Now this off-duty cop, there was another story in the York Dispatch. It said that, let me scroll down a little bit, because years ago, he was charged with the same thing. Torres shot and killed a fellow officer 6 years ago, according to a Baltimore Sun report. Torres shot and killed an off-duty Baltimore City police officer, Norman Stamp, 65, while responding to an incident at a strip club in Baltimore 6 years ago. As police officers arrived at the club in 2008, Stamp, who was hanging out with members of his motorcycle club, rushed out with brass knuckles. Torres struck him with a taser, and after Stamp reached for his service weapon, fired 2 shots, the report says. You know, I've just been watching Sons of Anarchy. This is what they do. The FBI agents are the motorcycle gangs in your communities scaring you. And based on that fear, then they're the cops protecting you from the motorcycle gangs scaring you. They get paid as corporate security officers. They get paid to maintain national security, which is the security of corporations. Each foreign nation is defined under the Judiciary Act itself, 28 U.S.C. subsection 1603. You're being killed, raped, molested, raised under National Security Act of 1947, globally, so that corporations never go hungry or homeless. A corporation is a box. And we'll be back on Wednesday. Don't miss the Bo and Rocco show right here on Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. Studio A every Wednesday, 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Be well, everybody. Thank you, Bo.